So, since I've decided to start breeding snakes, I thought it might be worth it to learn as much as I can about them. So in that process, why not learn together? So our video today is going to be going over the annual cycle of snakes. What do they do during the year? What happens in the spring, summer, winter, fall? Since the species that I'm starting with breeding is our California king snakes, this video is going to be more so focused on California king snakes, but it does apply to other species of similar habitats and locations. Like corn snakes are very similar. I believe hognoses are also very similar. Different types of king snakes follow the same lines. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I figured it would be easiest to start with the winter months, because snakes in this area, so the northern hemisphere, especially North America, they don't do a whole lot during the winter. So in the winter time, obviously the temperature drops, it gets colder, the ground freezes in some places. Where I am in Canada, for sure, we get snow, ice, all sorts of things. So where do the snakes go in the winter time? Snakes will go into something called brumation. Brumation is a type of hibernation where they will burrow into the ground, find a little hiding spot somewhere, and we're nice and dark and warm away from the surface, and they will sleep. Their body temperature drops, their metabolism slows down. They don't really do a whole lot during that time. They're basically just waiting for the warmer months to happen again. During brumation, they don't really eat or drink. They don't have anything in their systems because they're really just sitting there in kind of a stasis, waiting for the return of warmer weather. That's basically all that happens in the wintertime. So, with that being said, it brings us to spring. Now, spring is where things start to get more interesting again, because as the weather warms up, so too do our snake friends. As they warm up, they begin to emerge from their hiding places, their burrows, their little cracks and crevices where they've been sleeping away the winter months, which I wish I could do. I don't like winter time. I don't like going out in the winter time. So it would be really nice if I could also go into brumation for the winter, but alas, I am a human being. As we start emerging from brumation, there's a couple things that happen. The males will start looking for mates. So that's the time of year where breeding season happens. So they will go on adventures, start searching around to find mates, females to mate with. This mating season is signaled by pheromones released by the female snakes. It's often after they have their post-brumation shed. So they'll have a shed after they wake up from their hibernation, and that's kind of what the males will start smelling, and they know to start looking for the females because they know that they're ready for breeding season. Males often stop eating during this time as well because they're more focused on other things. Females will still eat. They'll eat a lot because they need the nutrients in order to produce eggs, to ovulate and to actually lay the eggs when the time comes. So they will still eat during that process, but males often refuse to eat, which seems to be a situation that a lot of people run into that I see in the snake pet snake world. I see lots of posts of people who have male snakes that around this time of year they just kind of stop eating, and obviously if your pet stops eating, that can be very concerning, but it is most likely nothing to worry about. It's probably just the fact that he's a male and he's looking for a partner. Once a partner is found, the snakes will obviously go about the mating ritual. During the actual mating, California king snakes are known to bite the females. So the male will kind of bite or grab the female in order to hold her still so that way the mating process can go smoothly. If she is receptive to this, she'll kind of hold still and not really resist. If she's not receptive, she kind of flails around and tries to get away. That's another thing that I'm glad that I know right now, because I'm sure if I got to mating season next year and didn't know that, and one of my snakes grabbed the other one, I might be a little concerned. Now, it is also worth noting that king snakes, they get that name because they will eat other snakes. So oftentimes during mating season, they will cannibalize each other. Whether it be the female eating the male or the bigger snake eating the smaller snake, that is not uncommon in snake mating, which, that's nature for you. Once the mating ritual is completed, if they're lucky, the snakes will part ways. If they're not lucky, somebody's probably going to get eaten. So that's another one that we have to watch for in the breeding world, is to make sure that one snake does not eat the other. And after that's done, the female snakes will go into ovulation. So they will start to produce follicles, which is where the eggs are formed. And once the eggs are formed, they are considered gravid. And once the snake is gravid, they will go and find a place that is nice and safe, dark, away from everything, with which to lay their eggs. And that kind of brings us to the summer months. So during the summer months, once the mating season is done and the females have laid their eggs, most snakes, including California king snakes, do not stay with the eggs. So the female will actually leave the nest, they leave the eggs where they are, and they're kind of on their own to develop and go about their business. And the female snake, as well as the male who successfully got away, will go about trying to hunt and feed and get bigger in order to prepare for once the weather gets colder again. So they'll eat when they get a chance to. Once it's nice and hot outside in summer, they are more active at dawn and dusk, and then they kind of sleep during the hotter hours of the day or hide out, which signifies that they are diurnal, which just means that they're more active in very early morning and night when the weather is kind of at a more comfortable temperature rather than it being so hot during the day. And then once the weather starts to be cooler again, they're more active during the day hours where the weather is again nicer. So while our adult snakes are hunting and doing their thing, the eggs that were laid are going about their incubation process. Snake eggs take between 40 to 75 days to hatch, depending on what kind of snake it is. California king snake eggs, oh, you're gonna go in my shirt? No? Okay. California king snake eggs take about 60 to 70 days before they'll hatch. So they're on that longer end of the spectrum, or the time scale as far as hatching goes. So during that time, the babies are developing in the egg, absorbing nutrients. Eggs hatching can be very dependent on temperature, humidity. They can be predated by different animals that come through the nest and eat some of them. So definitely not all of the babies will hatch. Some of them die just because they are weaker eggs. Some of them are not strong enough to get out of the egg once it is actually time to hatch. So not all of the eggs will hatch every time. It's unfortunate, but it is a fact of nature. That is why they have clutches of eggs typically, so there is a higher chance that somebody will hatch and continue that life cycle. The babies who do hatch will have their first shed, usually within about a week of hatching from the egg, and then off they go on their own to do their own hunting and preparing for the colder months. Once the weather starts to cool off again and you're heading into the fall months, all of our snakes, both the adults and the newly hatched, will start preparing for the winter again. So they've got a little bit of time to get some more meals in, to get some size on them, just to really make sure that they are ready to survive the winter. And then they will start to prepare for brumation again. So they'll find their hiding spots, they'll find their burrows, they'll make sure that their stomachs are empty, because they don't want to be digesting during those winter months. Once their metabolism slows down because they've stopped moving as much, it becomes a lot more difficult for them to digest their food, and it can actually start to rot inside of their stomachs because they're really not doing a whole lot and their bodies slow down so much. Once their hiding spot is found, they will get nice and cozy and prepare for brumation again, or they'll enter brumation again. So they go back into that cycle of sleeping through the winter and waiting for the warmer months to come back. And from there, that cycle will repeat over and over and over again until they die. Whether they're eaten or hit by cars or, they starve to death, all sorts of things happen. But that cycle will repeat itself until the end of each individual snake's life cycle. Now, the reason I've wanted to talk about this is because I think this information is important for general snake owners and breeders alike. We're taking these animals out of their natural habitat, and then in captivity, we have to kind of try and recreate their natural cycle in order for them to want to reproduce and lay eggs for us. So it's very important to know and understand what exactly happens in the wild so that you can kind of recreate it for them in captivity if you wanted to be a snake breeder. It's also just important to know as a snake keeper, even if you never plan to breed them, just because it keeps you informed as to what could be happening with your snake. Like I mentioned before, I see a lot of people posting and asking questions about the fact that their snake isn't eating for long periods of time in the spring. And it can be very stressful to have that situation with a pet that you love and not really know what the reason is. So I figured it's nice to have a video to kind of tell us what's going on. That way you don't have to worry. The more knowledge we have about these creatures, the better off we are at keeping them safe, making sure that they have a good quality of life and not overreacting when things that are natural to them happen. With that being said, that is the end of my educational video. Remember, we're all learning here. If I got something wrong or not entirely correct, feel free to message me or comment and correct me. I would like to go about this in the best way that I can. So if there's something that I can learn from somebody else that I didn't quite get right in this video, I would love that opportunity. Thank you again for taking time to listen to this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Oh no! Touch it. You're fired. Ah!